Anyway, okay, so it is 1 o'clock, and I have Tim Payne in, or I should say Dayton Tim Payne.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about the Republican primary, which early voting starts, and you got to get that microphone close to your mouth. Early voting starts on April 15th, and so I invited the candidates in today to talk, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Dave, for inviting me. I appreciate the opportunity.
One question I have that's not on my list is Tim your middle name?
Yes, Tim is my middle name. Dayton was my grandpa's name, my dad's name. And I just always went by Tim, and so Dayton's my first name, so that's why it's on the ballot. Dayton Tim Payne.
Oh, okay. I always ask about people's, if they have the name, and you explain why that is, so people
I got it.
Remember it and look at it. Because I actually was, when I saw that, I didn't realize that was your first name, and I like Dayton Payne. I thought it was, I think that's a great name. So
see, Dayton, my grandpa was the sheriff of the county at one time.
Oh, okay.
Back in the day.
All right. So tell me, why are you running for county mayor, and why now?
Well, actually, Dave, I was going to run in last election, and then I decided not to because I just moved back. I've been away. I taught school. I'm a retired school teacher, and I decided to move back to county, and I'd been here about a year, and the election was coming up, and I said, no, let me stay here, get my feet on the ground, understand more about the county and more about the city, get involved a little bit more, and be in the public eye. And I have done that, and then I said, hey, why not? Because I was thinking it's time for a new perspective, a different point of view for the county.
I didn't know you were a retired teacher. What?
I taught math for 24 years, and for 6 years I was a recruiter. I recruited for Brunswick County, North Carolina, for kids to take CTE classes and go to community college at the same time. So I went to all three high schools for the community college.
Huh.
That's what I'd like to see come back here, because I was one of the first ones when Walter State came in 84, 85. They brought Walter State to Mountain City. And I wanted to see if I can, if in the mayor position, try to talk some of those to come back here to help the people around here start with their education and help build their careers.
It'd be nice if we had a community college around here in Northeast Tennessee, right? I mean,
exactly. We have two. Walter State came all the way from Morristown to have our classes. A local lady helped promote that during the time. We just had the past president of Northeast is from Johnson County. He's retired, but he's from Johnson County.
Yeah. All right. And what do you see as the biggest challenge facing Johnson County today?
Well, it's the transparency, seeing transparency. I don't currently don't know a 5-year plan. I haven't heard a 10-year plan where they're looking at going, what they're looking at from the different departments. One of the biggest challenges I see is communication, because over the last 4 years, it's getting out to the public. The information's coming up to vote. They haven't seen it. They don't know about it. And opening up different ways.
Yeah.
Communicating to the folks of Johnson County and having their input, because we are growing, and it's growing in different aspects, and it's coming. Like our population is a little over 19,000 now. When I first moved back, it was like 17,000. Yeah. So it's growing, and that one of the biggest challenges I see is communication with the citizens of Johnson County, keeping them informed.
It is hard. I worked in government for a long time, and it is difficult. There are so many different ways now that people can leverage communication. You're starting to see politicians finally do it, but it's difficult for governments because, I know they put out a week before the commission meeting, they put out the agenda and what they're going to discuss, but most people don't see that. And there should be a different way to.
The old school way it used to be. Think about it. You'd go pick an agenda up at the courthouse. Yeah. Some communities have picked the agenda up at the post office. But now, as you say, with all the media going on, I had to learn that in my last position to be a recruiter. My boss says, "Wait a minute, you just can't go and make yourself. You've got to get out different ways. And how many different ways can you communicate? You know." You think about all the communication lines that we have available, and everybody's a little different. Each generation has their own way. So now we've got 5 or 6 different generations that can vote, but they have 5 or 6 different ways we need to communicate to them to get to the most voters.
Yeah, and it's tough for government people to do that, because there's all kinds of budget restrictions and technological restrictions. Yes. I tell you one thing: when I worked in government, we had the worst we had the worst computers. I mean, I don't remember. We had Windows 95 for 20 years.
I agree. I remember getting the first computer in the classroom, and it was then you had to answer email. Then I got moved up and switched systems, but I didn't realize my boss had a timer on. He sent me an email. He would tell me when I went to visit him, you took 27 seconds for you to view mine, but then it took you 5 minutes to respond to mine. There's a gap there. Okay, so I get it, but the more open we are, the more opportunities we give for people to be informed and not be caught off guard by the changes going on and things are happening in our government. That's one of my challenges.
All right. Well, the sheriff's pulling somebody over here. All right, so how would you approach budgeting and managing taxpayer money?
Well, one, I'd treat the budget like it's my own money. I'd treat their money like our money. And, the question before I see it here, what I do in my first year. My first year, let's go through, give me time to look at the books, assess the books, to see what is, get some answers ask questions. Being a teacher, I ask a lot of questions because I don't like to be uninformed. I don't like anything to hit me off guard. I need to know. So I'm going to sit down the first year, look at the books. I'm going to look at the books, see where funds are going. I'm going to try to keep them on track where they're supposed to be going, and not just change them because I shift it here and there. I don't care for that. It has to stay, and that's where I have to talk to the departments, see what their plans are. See how they're using their money, see if they're using it wisely, what money's been given to them, and figure out where the wastes are, and see what we can cut back and be able to sacrifice in one area, because you have to realize our taxpayers are paying enough. With this new appraisal of the properties that has come out, that's going to hit a lot of families, and a lot of families on fixed income with this new rate. Yes, the rate's supposed to come in lower, and it's supposed to be the same, but still, you got everybody on edge.
Yeah,
we're talking money,
and that kind of gets back to communications. I don't think this has anything to do with the mayor, but the assessments did come as quite a shock to a lot of people, and it took a lot of community people, not inside the government, to sort of explain how that works. I have been through reassessments because I've owned a house for 30 years, and I've been through reassessments. We do it when I lived in Chicago. We did it every 3 years, and you learn to understand that, because the first time you pay attention, it comes as a shock, especially when the economy, the fact that all the values are going up, it means the economy is doing pretty good.
See, I guess my question to ask now is, I know they reappraised this on the market value of the houses.
Right.
What's that time period? Where was that exact date? And then when they're going to reassess again, is it if the market's gone down since then, or is it going to reappraise? But I understand also the rate. They'll set the rate, and it's supposed to equal out. So waiting on that. So
yeah, we got to wait on that. Although I have to say, when the economy, I have over my lifetime seen the reassessments go up when the economy is good. I've never seen them go down. I mean, the government's never going to turn it down.
Never going to turn back money. But we got to find other ways, because everything seems like we've brought in other than the property taxes is non-sustainable.
Yeah.
All these grants we're getting, great, but if the government shuts down tomorrow, that money's gone. And you have projects out there, you have people out there that need to be paid for these projects, and it's gone. How are we going to pay for all this grant money if the government shuts down? So we're going to have to figure out other ways to share the load here of the expenses, and also be mindful of what we're spending it on. We have to be good stewards of our money.
All right. I have okay. We're getting close on time, so let me switch to. What is one decision? Okay, wait. Let me ask you this: what is one decision that current county leadership has made that you agree with, and one that you would have handled differently?
I'm sitting here looking at him.
Well, actually, we just talked about.
We've talked about. That's okay. You think about that. That was one of them, but you got to think about. As my role as the mayor, I'm to present stuff to the commissioners, and they are to have to talk to their citizens in each of the communities. Then they decide how to vote on it. I might have to break the tie, But at the same time, the commissioners bring things to me and say, Tim, look into this, and I have to report back to them. So I have some responsibility of maintaining the books, making sure the books are straight, making sure the money's wisely, but then I've got to be knowledgeable enough to share it with the commissioners and be open. You know, one of the questions on here but how am I going to communicate? Well, starting Monday, I'm going to meet the candidates up here at the Locals Deli in the mornings for coffee from 8 to 10 on Monday morning. I about got up 2 hours early. Sorry about that, Dave. And then at night, 6 to 8, just to meet the candidates as open, informal. If you don't know who we are, come talk to us. I've invited all the candidates. If you're listening now, please come out on those days. But I plan on having those meetings, coffee with the mayor, each month before there's going to be a vote. But in time, invite the people that's involved in these to come and explain what's going on, maybe explain the agenda. It's just different things we can do, but give the public opportunities to speak.
All right. Okay, now we've discussed you were a teacher,
Yes.
you're a business owner. What experience do you think best prepares you to be the county mayor?
Well, you got to realize in the school system is like a small city. You know, it has every aspect of a small city. You do, and school does, then it branches out to the bigger system. So I've been on the school setting, assistant principal in the schools, and you have to take on all the responsibilities as they would here as the county mayor. I also worked out of central office, so I know how that works with the big budgets. I know how, like during the hurricane, one of the things I learned when I was in Brunswick County that during the hurricane, there was a command center. Everybody sat right there. So we worked together and not separate. We're not, everybody's doing their own little thing. And that's what I saw after this hurricane. Everybody kind of doing their things. But in Brunswick County, they had a command center. As soon as it hit, everybody was represented in one place. So if I needed, Mount Electric said, I'm going down this road to clear this road. Well, I had the person who's in charge of the volunteers that cut brush to be ahead of them, so Mount Electric didn't have to take time to cut the brush. They just did their job.
Yeah, I've had experience doing that in the past where we did the same thing. Of course, in a large city, you have to do that. There's just no way.
And that's no difference here.
And but I wonder. It does make me wonder. Should we set something up in case there's another emergency? But where are the
we have to set it up and have a plan.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm getting at. We got to have some 5 years. We have to have a plan in place for this to happen. Know where it's going to be. Know what's going to happen. Because it's okay. That was the lower part of the community on the hurricane. It could be a completely different section of the county next time.
Yeah. Or I guess you're right in that, like, we had the hurricane last year and this past winter.
Yes.
We had a couple of weeks. I mean, I was out of water for a couple of weeks. It got colder than I really expected it to.
Right. Well, the heating shelter. And during one hurricane, I ran the shelter. They called me up and said to go run the school. But inside the school, when we brought it in, we had a representative of everybody that was staying, that was in the command center.
Yeah.
So I just had to go to them and say, hey, Red Cross, I need this. I need this from the sheriff's department. I need this. And then they could call back to the command center and they could pull it together and get what we needed. So it's just communication. I think that's one key thing, because you got to realize there for a time period we were without internet.
Yeah.
We're without communication. So we got to work on our infrastructure on communications.
Yeah.
And that's one of them.
So let me finish with this. I love asking people this question. So outside your family, who has most influenced you? Who has most influenced you in your life, in your professional life?
Outside the family, I stick close to the family. I mean, I got to realize, Mom and Dad were real strong.
Yeah.
My dad, he was the car dealer in town, and for years he opened the first skating rink here in town. And it was under a tent out here behind Farm Bureau. Then he moved it down here where Blackberry is now. He built the building. But his philosophy was, if you're going to start something and you get involved, leave it better than where you found it. So my goal is, I know this race is for 4 years, but all the problems are not going to be fixed in 4 years,
Yeah.
and the issues and more issues are going to come up. But 4 years gets me started. But at the end of 4 years, can the people say it's a better place than it was? That's my goal. And I think you said other than family, but mom and dad
Yeah.
are strongest.
All right. Well, no, that's right. It's a fair statement. Although I have to say now that I didn't realize. So your dad is the reason why every time somebody proposes anything in this town, somebody gets on Facebook and says, "We need a skating rink."
He had it till 1970. He had the skating rink.
And somebody wanted to turn Food Country into a skating rink and Parkdale into a skate. There's always somebody that says we need a skating
The
rink.
older generation remembers that the most, and I hear stories all the time. They come in and tell me, "Hey, I was there. I'm the one that broke my arm. I went off the boards under the tent and hit the metal spike that was holding the tent down. I got my arm broke for that one."
Yeah.
Or I had my best time down here at the skating rink down here on 421. I had a good time there. That's it. We needed that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know anybody that skates anymore except in parks, and it's funny. I haven't seen a skating rink in years, but every time somebody always mentions a skating
It
rink.
always does.
All right. Well, Tim Payne, thank you for coming in and talking to my listeners today, and I wish you good luck. And okay, let me just the early voting starts on
the 15th.
On the 15th,
Yes.
and election day itself is on May 5th. We were just talking about that.
Thank Dave for the opportunity. Also, voters need to know that myself and Mr. Potter are the two candidates. That's the only two candidates in this race, and our race will be decided in May.
Yeah.
The winner in the primary will not be, other than write-in votes, won't be anybody in August.
Right.
So they need to get out and vote, because our history of record of people voting in Johnson County in a primary, we have had a low turnout.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, sir.
Because this
It
is
was 30 years
there's
ago.
no, everybody's Republican. There's no Democratic candidate. So the primary is basically the election.
And there's no independent candidate for this position. So the primary is the election for this one. For the other races, they'll win, then they'll go move on. Our name would be, the winner will be on the ballot in August, but other than write-ins, no other name will be on the ballot.
All right.
So I'm just encouraging voters, hey, get out and vote and represent, because the last time we voted 30 years ago, we had between, I think, 1,900 to 2,000 people vote in the primary, and then about 7,900 vote in August.
Yeah.
So that makes a difference, and your vote counts. If you don't think your vote counts this election, your vote's going to count.
Yeah, I think I'll ask who's the election commissioner to come on next
Yes.
week to talk about the election. That's a good idea.
All right, thank you, Dave.
All right, thank you for coming in, and we are going to get right back. We're going to have the music, and right after some quick announcements from our community here on WMCT, The Mountain, 102.9 FM, 1390 AM.
A part of our community for 55 years. This is 102.
I'm David Haynes, and we're back at 7 minutes past 2. It is 71 degrees out, and I am honored to welcome Mayor Larry Potter in to talk about the upcoming Republican primary race, which, by the way, just a reminder, early voting starts April 15th. The election date is May 5th, right?
And April 15th through the 30th.
April 15th through the 30th, and then election day is May 5th. So, all right, so welcome. Thank you for coming.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
All right, so you are running for re-election. This is not your first term, though, right? So how long have you been mayor?
If elected this term, he'll make 3 terms.
But were they consecutive?
No, 2 was, and then I got B, and then 22 was my first term back.
Okay.
So this will complete 4-year term.
Okay. And so why are you running for re-election?
Well, all I know is work. I guess about all I know. And I enjoy it. And, of course, it's more enjoyable when things come together.
Yeah.
And really, there's some more things I like to get done or try to work on from this term here, falling through into the next term. A lot going on, and coming through a disaster, and
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of your job got hijacked by Helene. You know, it's hard to make plans when a hurricane comes through, right? Or hard to stick to the plan when a hurricane comes through.
well, it is, and it soon will be end of April 27th, 8th, it'll be a year and 7 months, and it keeps on coming to trying to work everything out.
Yeah, I suppose places like Florida are used to recovering from that, but when you get a hurricane in the middle of, the Appalachian Mountains,
well, when
not something you're used to.
Well, when a ditch don't have no water in it, and a ditch goes to a creek, and creek to a stream, and stream to a river, yes, it's bad, real bad.
So, what do you see as the biggest challenge facing Johnson County today and in the upcoming term?
Well, right now, the biggest challenge is to me Parkdale. At the day of the flood, I was told 403, 407 jobs. I mean, that's what I was told. But, it took a year and 5 months to announce that, hey, it's for sale.
Yeah.
I mean, their insurance and, corporate America and, their process. So a year and 5 months, I announced it's for sale. 30.4 million is asking price. 22 acres under roof with another 65 acres with that property. So that's a real big priority. I met with a realtor, and the fact sheet that he has on the property, I've already sent that to Nashville to submit. We really need somebody that needs a big building. They're out there somewhere. We just got to find them.
Do we have, does the county government have a role in finding that person? I mean, or does the realtor just advertise? How does that work in government? I don't.
As county mayor, it's like what don't do.
Yeah.
I mean, a small community, phone rings. It's county mayor has a lot to do. So that's part of economic community development. Parkdale. Hey, if I can help any way, the realtor said, well, help me out. And of course, send it to Nashville as soon as I could.
Yeah.
For our team in Nashville, to where people's looking at Nashville, if it's a good fit or maybe a fit that could be worked out, then that's good communication and a process to work on.
Yeah. Does the Congress woman, does our members of Congress or our state rep have anything to help us out with that? Or?
Well, I've reached out to somewhat. I'm trying to look under every rock, so to speak, what we could fit in there. I don't know if some kind of a military. We have a lot of military, lots of veterans in the area. We have a lot of military. If they're listening today, somebody in the military may say, hey, man, this might work out. You just don't never know till you might talk to the next person in that search.
I'd like to, when we, it's too soon now, but when we go forward, I'd like to have you back and talk about what's going on and how that worked out. That's, for some reason, I find that fascinating about how you use a big property and do something with it. I'd like to find out about that.
And the other, part of priorities, long-term recovery. Again, it's soon be a year and 7 months. Still trying to help some people, and mountain people's proud. They don't ask for no help, and we've got a group of Mennonites coming in here, and unfortunately, I think we had to find them a place to stay, or it worked out in Carter County, which needed to really stay in Johnson County, but it is what it is. But probably about 40 of them, and them people does excellent work, and so we're working to get funds. They're looking at probably at least 25 homes, I'm hearing.
To build, or?
To build.
Oh, okay.
Rebuild.
And the Mennonites?
The Mennonites, I think they're coming from Indiana.
Oh.
Met with a great bunch of people, and through their organization, I mean, hey, we want to help, so please come.
Wow, that's nice.
That's super.
How do you approach budgeting and managing taxpayers' money? It's a question I asked Tim earlier. I'm wondering how hard is it to do that, to do the budget?
Well, we're starting pretty soon the budgeting process. The financial director, he's done sent out to the county officials your wish lists, or what you may need in your office. And basically we get everybody's information. Some of them may come to talk to the budget committee and address their need. And it comes to the end of like your manage your home budget, or trying to, how much money do we have?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like our local government, the process to run these offices. Can't think the number off the top of my head, but just to keep them updated and to have the software to work, local government, I mean, it's astronomical. Our insurance, our liability, I mean, we're a big business.
Yeah.
And all the cost comes with it. We got to pay our water bill. We got to pay insurance. I mean, just because we're at the courthouse and whatever, bills keeps coming to us also. It's
it's kind of, on the one hand, you a lot of people think on the one hand that the government doesn't have to pay those bills, but then if the government didn't pay those bills, on the other hand, they'd be like, why aren't you paying these bills like we are? And, so people have to realize that all the water bills and electric bills do get paid by somebody.
Well, yeah, and it's like in our case, we really need to help our local fire departments.
Right.
I mean, they do their best, just like if we didn't have our local fire departments, EMA, our volunteers, just neighbors, you wouldn't believe the chainsaws that was running in Johnson County.
Yeah.
And if we hadn't had them people, and that's the way we've raised and brought up here, just jump in there and all hands on deck, but we would still be struggling even more. It
was inspiring to see. I was here. We were actually out of town during the hurricane, but when we came back, it was inspiring to see how everybody jumped in and helped out.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It really was, and I mean, you just can't thank them people enough, because they left their own families to help other people. So amazing spirit.
I got poison ivy out there cutting trees down. First time I ever had that.
It'll get you, not good.
All right, so how do you work with the county commission and other elected officials, especially if there's like disagreements? How do you guys work that out?
Well, really, per se, the mayor, I mean, I just don't think, I was trying to think I keep them informed. I always tell the commission and other people or citizens, you may not like what I tell you, but I'm always going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm going to keep you informed. And we just sent out the packet today, mailed 3 out. Takes long to get theirs, and email the packets and deliver some packets for the meeting next Thursday. And push a button, she sends it out to everybody on the list. I mean, I don't know how many's on it, the agenda. And I don't know can't think we really had a disagreement. I think it's all about communication, keeping commission informed, and department heads. I mean, it's really been a challenging time, just with even trying to work within money, period, to keep the lights on with this hurricane.
Yeah.
I mean, we borrowed $15 million. We had to get these roads fixed back.
Yeah. I
went to Nashville 2 Mondays in a row begging for money. And you go down there, and the look they give you, like, what are you doing here? You talk about a humbling experience.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll break you.
Yeah, if it doesn't happen,
don't understand.
For state government, if it doesn't happen in Nashville, right? They don't think that it happened anywhere. Then.
Well, one case I told them, they said, "Well, how?" And this just got me, and it'll always stick with me. So I was going in on 40. And there's this big equipment out there, like this. I hope there's testing equipment to mow the right-of-ways. And I thought, folks, we're still pushing snow and water in the mountains. And we've done wasted, I hate to use the word, but we've done wasted $1 million in buying gravel to try to shore up the roads that we're trying to hold together. And they looked at me, and I told one young man, I guess just Google gravel. I don't know what else to tell you, but it just takes a lot out of it.
Yeah. All right, so just a couple more questions. One of the things that I've been asking about is communication. You just mentioned like the agenda. Like I go to a lot of the meetings and I get the agenda every month, and the agenda's put out on the Johnson County website. But is there any plans to start using other modes of social media or communication nowadays?
Well, it's on our. We send it out to the world. Everybody, the agenda. It's on our web page. We're pretty well putting it out there. Pretty well. I mean, everywhere we can right now. As far as social media, with our web page, and sending the agenda out, and all types of postings, or hey, I'm open to trying anything. It's just like anybody can get a hold of the mayor. I guarantee I don't know who don't have my phone number. My card's got my office number, and it's got my home number. And some of the other mayors, I said, well, you need to put your cell number on there. And, to me, it comes with the job. I mean, I just soon talk to people at 10 o'clock of the night and 10 o'clock of the morning, because if it's important that time of night, then let's talk about it.
Yeah. All right, and just a question I've been asking everybody, because it's a question I love to ask. Who, outside your family, who's influenced you? Who's most influenced you in your life?
Well, I guess in high school, the guy that gave me my first job, Nelson Gray at Blackburn Supermarket. Great guy. Just you can learn a lot, especially when you're trying to grow up. You think you are. But he helped a lot of us young boys and ladies, giving us the first job at Blackburn Supermarket, sitting right over there in that parking lot. But just people like him, just his integrity, his character, as a young person, and tell all young people, there's people like that need to pay attention to.
Well, that's great. Well, I really I appreciate you coming in and talking to us, and I wish you the best of luck. And go ahead.
And one more thing, looking at the county and budget and everything else, where we borrowed the $15 million, I have a call with TEMA every Friday. And, there's projects that we got going on to get reimbursement. And that'll be another highlight, really, for the county, if we get our money back like we should. But now it's challenging to deal with FEMA on a good day. I mean, you just wouldn't believe it. But in 2029, our county will be out of debt.
Oh.
And, we got 95 counties in the state of Tennessee. I'm working with our financial director close every day, our road people, just everybody. When I work as a mayor, it's just not me, it's a team effort, and that's how I think we can be more successful. But he'll be something in 2029 that we can join right now, probably other 15 counties in the state of Tennessee, to say, Johnson County, we're out of debt. So that's very important that we stay in this process to get our money back, to be out of debt. And it's going to be here before we know it.
Yeah.
So that'll be a milestone for Johnson County.
Yeah, the older we get, the years to go faster, don't they?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, thank you for joining us. And we are going to get back into the music right after this, and after a couple of quick announcements from our sponsors. And thank you for coming in, Mayor Potter.
Thank you so much.
You're listening to WMCT in Mountain City, Tennessee, and thanks to streaming and the TuneIn app, we're now everyone's hometown radio station.
Did you know the